Today I'm going to show you how to make some Tyranid crack. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do some weathering on a Tyranid carapace. Back in July 2020 I posted this image on the subreddit of Warhammer 40k. It's fair to say it gained quite a lot of popularity, getting almost 4,000 upvotes. And naturally, a lot of people were asking, how did you do this? What did you do to make this effect? Well, in this video, I want to share that. Now, the idea behind this carapace was that these zoanthropes had been sent to a planet long ahead of schedule before the Tyranids assaulted that planet. And they had been left there in a state of hibernation almost, and they had slowly become part of the surrounding environment, cracking and growing like lumps and stuff on their carapace. So that's the effect I was really going for. Well, how did you achieve this effect, you may ask? Well, it's a good thing you clicked on this video, because I'm about to show you. Now, there are three main things you're going to need for this process. 1, some crackle paint. 2, some PVA glue. And 3, some sand. Oh, and I suppose you should have a model to do this on as well. That would help. Now, before we do anything, we want to go and prime the model. It doesn't matter what colour, it's up to you. It's your personal preference, whatever will best suit your paint scheme later on down the line. The reason we do this first is the crackle paint would struggle to fix to the plastic. However, having that thin primer layer creates a nice bond between the crackle paint and the primer paint. Once the primer is dry and you're ready to start, our first step is applying the crackle paint. You want to do this in splotchy, random patches. You want to apply it with a fairly old or like a discarded brush, one you don't use very often, because it may damage it a little bit with all the smushing about, and if it dries at all in the bristles it can damage it that way as well. In this instance I'm using Crackle and Earth, and I make sure to focus the paint in larger areas. Doing it on the open areas also means you won't be filling those recesses on the model that give it a lot of dimension. The next step can be done straight away whilst the crackle paint is still wet, and that step is applying some sand. You're going to do this using PVA glue. You don't have to do this, you can always just leave the carapace looking all cracked and weathered that way. But I like to add the sand for a range of textures, because that closer represents what you find in real life. To closer replicate what you see in real life, you can even apply some of the sand straight into the texture paint. It doesn't need to be right next to it, you can sprinkle it into the crackle paint if you wanted to. This makes it seem a lot more organic and real. Now, the next thing we need to do is wait a few hours for all that stuff to dry. Now that the carapace is dry and the textures are ready, let's apply some paint. I'm going to be using some colours that match the base of this model, and luckily that colour scheme also matches the crackle paint out Crackle and Earth. I'm going to be applying a couple thin base layers of Steel Legion Drab all over the carapace. I may leave the cracked areas as 1 is already the right colour, and 2, I don't want to be filling those cracks with paint. I want to make sure they're as deep as possible for when you may add a recess shade to really bring out those cracks. Which is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to apply a brown wash all over this area. I'm going to be using Agrax Earth shade. And the next step is, of course, waiting again. This time for only about half an hour, but still there's a lot of waiting involved in this process. Once everything's dry again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some dry brushing to apply highlights. I'm going to be using a Shabty Bone all over the carapace, and then I'm going to go in with a second layer in more select areas with Screaming Skull. You want to be quite delicate when you're doing your dry brushing, as there's the risk of peeling up some of the crackle paint we applied earlier. I personally don't normally bother with varnishes, but when I'm doing a model that is this heavily textured and is quite prone to damage, I'm going to apply a matte varnish all over the carapace. This will help protect the crackles and stop it from peeling up. Now obviously that is just my colour scheme. You can use this effect on whatever hive fleet you want, whatever colour scheme you desire. And I believe if you follow the same technique that I just used, you'll still get pretty cool results. Now, let's flash forward and have a look at these brain bugs all finished. So there we have it, a relatively easy method to apply some texture to your Tyranid carapace. And also, this method can be used to do your bases as well. The exact same thing can be done on your miniatures base. If you like this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up and possibly subscribe to the channel to see more content I'm creating. Also, if you try this method for yourself, it would be great if you got in touch and sent me a picture, because I would love to see how it turns out. You can find me at Frankie Rogers Art on Instagram, and I also have a Facebook page for Frankie Draws. So thank you for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.